Beatrix again from the Green Bay Botanical Garden. Today we're coming to you live from our hoop house, and today we're going to talk about getting some of your veggies ready to move outside. And thankfully all the snow that we had last week has melted, so it's starting to feel like spring, so everyone's kind of getting spring fever and itching to get outside, our plants included. So we're going to kind of talk about the acclimation process or hardening off of all those vegetables that you've started from seed. Today we have a lot of annuals out. We haven't started a lot of our vegetables yet, so we'll go over the process and post some resources afterwards. But a lot of what we'll talk about today you can apply with your annuals that you've started from seed or the vegetables that you will be starting from seed in the next couple of weeks. So first of all, acclimation, what is it? Basically, acclimation or hardening off is the process of moving plants that are used to indoor conditions outdoors, getting them used to direct sunlight, dry air, and the cooler temps that are associated with being outside versus inside in a controlled environment like your windowsill or your grow station or a hoop house or a greenhouse that we have. And then the second question is, why do you need to acclimate your plants? Why can't I just take them from my windowsill and plant them outside? Well, an example, if you want to think about it, you know, we live in Wisconsin, we get all the snow when it's really cold. A lot of us like to go on vacation. So you decide to go to Mexico. Well, you decide, okay, I'm going to go Mexico. It's nice and warm there. You know, it's too cold in Wisconsin. Well, you get down to Mexico on your first day. You know, it's really nice and sunny. You just want to get on the beach. You go sit on the beach all day. And at the end of the day, you go from pasty white Wisconsinite to fully ripe tomato. What happened? And all of a sudden, you're kind of like feeling the effects of heat exhaustion because it's so warm. Well, that's because your body isn't used to all the direct sunlight and the heat associated with Mexico. You know, you have to get used to it. So if you would have put on sunblock or kind of done a little bit of tanning before you went on vacation, kind of got yourself used to the sun, you probably wouldn't have got sunburn or heat exhaustion. So if you kind of compare your skin and your body from going to Wisconsin to Mexico in the winter and kind of compare the plant's physiology to that as well, you know, that kind of explains the hardening off process. You know, the plants go from indoor controlled environment, constant temperatures, constant water, you know, and then you just throw them outside in the sun and you got the wind like today, the direct sunlight, dry air, you know, they're going to get damaged and they can get sunburned too, and they can get too hot and dry up and die. So that's why the acclimation process is really important. So now, you know, how to acclimate your plants. The first thing you want to think of is what kind of crop are you trying to harden off, because you have a couple different types of crops that can handle different temperatures. So your first set of crops are considered your hardy crops or your cool season vegetables, and those are plants that can take, anytime it gets above 40 degrees Fahrenheit during the day, and at night you can start bringing them outside, and once they are hardened off can handle frost. So those are your brassicas, like your cabbage, kales, broccolis, cauliflowers, anything in the brassica family, as well as onions and leeks and anything in that family. Your second set of vegetables or plants that can be brought out are considered half hardy. Those can be brought out anytime the temperature gets above 45 degrees Fahrenheit at night or during the day. And once hardened off, those can tolerate a light frost. So those are crops, for example, celery and lettuce, which we have some out here. And then your last group of plants are considered the tenders or the warm season crops. Those need to wait until it's 60 degrees above during the day and the night temperature is around 50, because once they're hardened off, they can't tolerate frost. So those will be killed if it gets too cold. So some examples of those plants are a lot of the vegetables that we haven't started yet here at the garden, but you'll be starting soon at home, as will we. Tomatoes, peppers, melons, cucumbers, pumpkins, you know, beans, a lot of the stuff that likes it really, really warm. So the first step to acclimating is knowing which crop you can bring out first. So here at the garden, like I said, we don't have a ton of vegetables out yet, but we do have some kale that's already hardened off. You know, we have our lettuces, and we do have some onions, and they're a little bit further back. We can't see them right now, but a lot of what we're hardening off at this point are early spring annuals that we're putting into containers. So we have a lot of alyssum, some snapdragons, some osteospermums or African daisies, and even some of our petunias. So these are our hardy plants that are starting, and then in the next couple weeks, probably next week, we'll start bringing some of the warmer stuff out. So after you know what type of plant you have, if it's hardy or tender, the next step is to do the acclimation process gradually. Usually in about 7 to 10 days is what it takes for a crop to harden off. So the first day you want to bring your plants out for about 2 to 3 hours in the sun, and then once that 2 to 3 hours is passed, bring them back inside or cover them up with a shade cloth, because like I said, they can get sunburned because they're not used to the sun, so you want to gradually introduce them. You can't really put sunblock on the plants, so you kind of got to put them in shade or take them in or out depending on the weather. And that first day you want to definitely protect them from any strong sun, any really harsh winds, hard rain, or really hard cold. So a lot of times it's nice to bring it out on the first couple days on an overcast day where it's, you know, somewhat cloudy, because then they decrease the likelihood of getting sunburnt. And then after that first couple of days, bring them in for 2 or 3 hours and then bring them back inside. You know, each day add a couple extra hours onto your time depending on the weather, because you're gradually increasing them to more sun exposure, more wind, and the cooler temps. And then the big thing with acclimating or hardening off your plants is you really want to watch the weather. So, you know, if you have a really nice week, like we have this week, or the temperatures are in the 40s, 50s, you know, you can pretty much leave them out all week during the day, but at night we're getting down to around the 30s where a lot of these plants could freeze, so then we have to bring them back into our hoop house. So but next week, you know, we're going to get some 60s and 70s, pretty close to the 80s. You know, they can pretty much stay out all the time, even at night, without having to cover them, and we'll be able to bring some of our other crops out as well. So you really want to watch your weather and your night temps, your day temps. We'll be posting some information about specific crops and what temperatures they require to harden off appropriately. And then once you've got your 7 to 10 day period where everything's hardened off, everything that's out here on this table has been hardened off. We're starting to plant some of our spring containers today, actually, so you'll have to come out to the garden and check them out. We're getting a little bit of color out there. Once you have everything ready to transplant into your garden, you definitely want to make sure you water it in thoroughly, because it's going from, you know, a nice little 4-pack here to the open ground, so you want to make sure that those roots have nice water to start growing. And then you can feed them with lightly mixed fertilizer like Miracle Grow, just to kind of get their roots established and get them to start growing and being happy in your garden. So you know, the process of acclimation is basically getting your plants used to a controlled environment inside to the uncontrollable environment outside. So we all know last week we got, you know, Storm Evelyn, not really expecting that, so anything can happen outside, and you want to make sure your plants are ready for the elements before you plant them into the garden. So like I said, we'll post some more information after we're done talking about cold frames, which is another option for hardening off your plants and also extending your season. I'll give you some more information on the different crops in terms of what's a cool season crop and a warm season crop, and then the different temperature requirements for each and when to start hardening them off, and then just some general info about hardening off in terms of all the different steps and everything. So this is pretty much what we have hardened off now. Like I said, we have a lot of our spring blooming plants that are going into containers: alyssum, snapdragon, osteospermums, pansies. We do some lettuces and kales in our spring containers as well. We also have a lot of petunias that we're starting to harden off, some of our perennials. We have some Gora out here, and then we have a whole bunch of grass right here. This is Stipa, or ponytails grass, that will be going in the parking lot. Kind of reminds us of a nice green lawn. You know, everyone's lawn's starting to green up now, so it's kind of nice to seeing this. But we're actually going to take a walk through the hoop house, and we'll give you a little preview of what's going to be coming this spring and summer at the botanical garden. So follow me. So the last couple months when we've been talking, we've been in NWTC's greenhouses, and this week we're coming from the hoop house, which is owned by the botanical garden. So this is kind of our second step in getting all of our plants ready to grow and be planted in the garden. They start in the greenhouse, and then they're brought out here to the hoop house, and then they're brought outside. So a lot of the plants that are in here today will probably be brought out next week when it's in the 50s, 60s, you know, even 70s during the day. So this will be our next batch of plants that we're going to start hardening off. So if you want to follow me, we'll look at some of the stuff that's going to be in the garden this year. These are a whole bunch of petunias, part of our All-America Selection trial garden. Some of them you can see are already starting to bloom. So these you'll have to come check out. Some of them are known varieties that are already available in the market, and then we have one comparison trial plant that we're kind of comparing them to the other ones that we have. We have a lot of cannas that are going to be in the garden as well. These take a long time to grow, so we get them started early so we have nice big plants and really big flowers because they are a tropical plant, so the more time that they can get growing in warm conditions, the better they'll be once we plant them into the garden. And then here we have a lot of celosia or coxcombs. These are a nice warm dwelling plant. I think some of these are going out in the parking lot as well this year. And then we have a lot of geraniums. These are a lot of our ground cover plants, sweet potato vines that are also going out in the parking lot. We have a lot of different colors, as you can see. And then we have some sun patiens that we just transplanted. We got these little guys in as little baby plugs and potted them up into 3.5-inch pots last week. These are really a nice alternative if you like impatiens but don't like the issues with the downy mildew. The sun patiens are a great alternative. They're actually closely related to the New Guinea impatiens, and they don't get the powdery mildew, but they can handle shade and sun, so they're really universal plants. We have lantana, some euphorbias, and then a whole bunch of angelonias here, which we just got in as little baby plugs. They don't have their blooms on them yet. And then we have some regular impatiens. And over here we have a whole bunch of dahlias that are also part of our All-America Selection trial, and some begonias as well. So this is kind of a little sneak peek of some of the things that you're going to see in the garden this summer, so you'll have to come back and check it out. And like I said, we'll be posting some resources after we're done today, so you can click on those to get some more detailed information or ask any questions in the comments section, and we will answer those. So thank you for tuning in today. It was a pleasure having you with us, and enjoy the spring-like weather. And join us next month when we're going to take you shopping to a local nursery where we're going to talk about buying plants from the store, like your tomatoes and pepper plants for those of you who weren't able to start your vegetables from seed, or those that are just looking to supplement to the crops that you did start. So join us next month in May, and we'll take you shopping with us. Thank you for joining today, and remember to keep your knees dirty and your shovel clean.